All right, so let's talk about we did some predictions. Your podcast had some graphics, and you had told folks to give their predictions for the NBA season, and you had a little template, and then you created a graphic for them. So I'll quickly
Mason. Shout out Mason.
Yeah, your podcast, meaning your graphics department, meaning Mason Mazza. So let's read. I'll read off mine really quickly, and then we'll read off yours. So defensive player of the year, I went Giannis. Rookie of the year went Keegan Murray from the Kings. Most improved player is like the worst thing to try and predict.
Yeah.
I thought RJ Barrett, but then I was like, Wendell Carter Jr.
Yeah, what made you go with Wendell? That was an interesting one.
If Orlando is good, I mean, it's just based on if Orlando is a good team. I just feel it goes like when they made the trade, when Chicago made the trade, and for the center from the Magic, what's his name?
Vucevic.
Yeah, for Vucevic. I was adamant that this was the wrong move because I was like, they're gonna play Vucevic off the court. Like you don't need someone just to play in the post. Like Wendell Carter is kind of the type of player that you need. Maybe he's not going to be your starting five, but he's the kind of player that you need. And so I've always been a fan of his. Mm-hmm. And I just think that I forget what his numbers were last year, but they were surprisingly good.
That's why people, sorry to cut you off, but I talked to Kobe Price of the Orlando Sentinel. He covers the Orlando Magic, and he doesn't think Wendell could get it because his numbers were
too good last year.
Because he grades it on literally a year-to-year statistical jump. Yeah, obviously eye test, but that's why he didn't do Jordan Poole, because Ja went from what? 18 points per game to 27 or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
So that's why that was Sam Amick's reason for doing it too. So, people have different ways of voting it, but he doesn't think Wendell can really go astronomically better than that stat line.
Did you see Slater went Patrick Williams for his?
That's the pick I like. That's what it should be. It should be guys who, because Slater said it perfectly, they value the points per game jump. It's like if Patrick Williams could become a really valuable player on the Chicago team, and they end up as a fifth or sixth seed, it's probably a lot of his doing with Lonzo out and all that. Like a Jaden McDaniels to me would be, I feel like, an awesome pick. I feel like he's pretty a key to how this Minnesota Timberwolves team.
Nobody was drafting him in fantasy, Jaden McDaniels.
I wanted to. Alex took him the round I was going to take him. That's my guy.
All right, so sixth man of the year, I went with Jordan Poole. MVP, I went with Luka. There's 5 or 6 guys that I think are really good choices for MVP. I think Luka's team is not going to be as good as it was last year, so maybe his numbers have to go up a little bit, but they're going to be a playoff team. Tim Hardaway Jr. is back, so maybe that helps out a little bit. Best record, I went Bucks. I sort of feel like Giannis. This is Giannis's year for you guys forgot about me because I didn't make the finals. And I think he really loved being in the finals. He likes being known as the best player in the NBA. Yeah. So I think he's got a little bit of okay, we're going back, and I'm getting back there, and we're gonna have a really good season. Some of that is Middleton. He's still not even ready to play, right? How long is he going to be out?
I actually don't know his timetable.
So worst record, there's a multitude of teams here. You could have gone Jazz, Spurs. I just went Hornets. There's nothing outside of LaMelo. I guess
they have pieces, but I feel like they're gonna flip him. Bouknight just got his 4th DUI of the year. I wouldn't totally count on
what's
him.
Going on? See, stuff like clue. That. What's going on with stuff like that?
Yeah, Miles Bridges. We kind of know the story there.
I mean, this dude's done, right? He's
I mean, he keeps getting his court hearing delayed or pushed out or something. I keep seeing a tweet once every 4 weeks, and it's pushed out again. So we'll see with him.
And then I had Warriors Bucks in the finals, and Warriors winning the title. Nice. So for your picks, you had Rudy Gobert winning Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Do I get to list mine?
Next to Karl Anthony Towns. Yeah, go for it.
So a lot of my reasoning, I'll start with, because some of my reasoning counteracts each other. I said MVP Joel Embiid because I think there's voter fatigue, and voter fatigue is real. I don't think they'll give it to Jokic 3 years in a row. even if he's the first seed, even if he, has the same stat line. I think he's got to do something like astronomically better, which I don't know if he can based on how he's been playing because it's so good. Like, I don't know how much better you can get. And that counteracts my Rudy Gobert defensive player of the year because that would be his third, right? Or his third or fourth or something like that. But I think, I think people don't believe in it working for the Timberwolves, and I think if it works, he could win it again. And but yeah, back to my MVP pick. I think there's 3 possible MVP candidates. There's going to be more. It's going to be someone that jumps in the picture that's unexpected. But I went into it thinking Joel Embiid, and I have the Sixers as the best record in the East. So I think that if that's the case, I think Joel can finally get it this year. I had Luka, and you picked Luka, but I think I had Luka as the 7th seed, and I could easily see him being the 8th seed. I think he's got average like 35 points or 30, like 32 to 35 points per game to like keep this team afloat. Because you really look at that roster, there's not much outside of him. Like Dinwiddie's okay. Christian Woods, we don't know what Christian Wood looks like on a winning basketball team. Like there's a lot of this
not
team.
Not a Maxi Kleber guy.
Not really. A lot of this team,
especially not in the playoffs.
yeah. Powell sucked in the playoffs too. I mean, they get Tim Hardaway Jr. back, but I think this team kind of fits Luka's strengths and kind of actually hides a little bit of his weaknesses because everyone can kind of defend on that team, so maybe he doesn't have to. But I think we're going to hear a narrative on how like, oh, Luka needs help, but like, it's kind of a LeBron thing where you want to put shooters around Luka, and that's what they're doing. But maybe it's just I think he just needs like a second star. But I could see. If like I think he's got to get a 6 seed at least. That's what Jokic was last year, right? A 6 seed and he got the MVP. Has a 7 seed ever won the MVP? What was Russ when he got it? Was that a 6 seed too?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think it was a 6 seed because I remember we were trying to see if Steph could get it, but he was an 8th seed, and that was kind of one of the main ruling, along with Jokic being amazing. So I don't know. I just think if Luka is a 7 or 8 seed, he's not going to get it. And my other one was Jason Tatum. Because I think that, he could potentially take a jump in his game and the Celtics will be really good in the regular season. So, he might get a nod. And today he looked really good. A lot of the weaknesses I felt like he had during the finals, he was kind of showing today, like making a statement. Like one of my main qualms with his game in the finals is that whenever he'd get contact, he'd flail and he wouldn't be able to finish through contact. And today, like he was finishing through contact like crazy. So I feel like he's a good pick. Max picked him. You picked Luka. I picked Embiid. I think those are all solid picks. I'm interested to see on who outside of that top 3 will start coming into the fold.
I think Tatum is a really good pick. The thing about that team though is can you be the MVP as the best player and the most talented player when I still feel like Jaylen Brown is and Marcus Smart are like the heart and soul? Like there's like something there where I don't know. I like Tatum a lot, but I also think like Jaylen Brown, I'd almost rather have Jaylen Brown on the Warriors. I don't know. That might just be
maybe
like
on the Warriors.
Taste. That might be just a personal taste, but there's like a dog in Jaylen Brown that I don't see in Tatum. Yeah, I mean Tatum, especially if Boston is as good as they might be, because they looked really good today.
Yeah,
Malcolm Brogdon, but Brogdon will probably get hurt at some point, so they'll have to. I mean, that's why they got the depth, right? They got Derek White, they got Brogdon. Who was the Noah Vonleh? I was like, who is this guy? Just wanting to.
He was in Wiggins and Embiid's draft with Julius Randle. Like that was a callback.
He's just like getting underneath Embiid and wanting to fight him. I was like, who's this guy? Oh, that's Noah Vonleh.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe since I picked the Sixers as the 1 seed and they got outclassed a little bit, the score was a little closer than I felt like it kind of ran away with at the end of the game. Celtics were kind of up by 15, maybe 20. But yeah, I have a lot to say about that team. Maybe when I do my podcast this week. Going back to my list, though, Rookie of the Year, Paolo Banchero. I think it's between 2 with the dark horse. Paolo and Keegan, I feel like, are the top 2. But a lot of people are picking Ben Mathurin, which makes me happy as a U of A fan.
I guess he had a really good preseason. I didn't see any of their games.
Really good summer league, too. Yeah, no, I'm keeping an eye on him for sure. But I feel like with Rookie of the Year, in years past, they've given it to a guy who either gets the keys to a team and is able to bring them to a play-in, point at LaMelo, or it's a guy who's given a key to a team and is a very contributing piece to a winning team. I just feel like with Rookie of the Year, they tend to give it to guys who are just given everything to do, or are a guy who's given things to do on a winning team. With Scotty Barnes, I think that the Pacers are going to have one of the worst records of the season. So I just don't know, just basing it off of how the past rookie of the years have gone, I don't know if I can see Ben Mathurin getting it based on how I have them in the prediction. So I went Paolo. I think I think they drafted him to be the guy. I think they drafted him to be the number one guy, and he's going to have pressure. But I mean, Franz is going to take pressure off of him. Franz is not a nationally known name as he should be. I think this guy's a future all-star, but you talked about Wendell. I'm a believer in Jalen Suggs still. Cole Anthony is a decent player. We'll see what Markelle Fultz does. Jonathan Isaac coming back.
They're gonna be fun to watch.
This is gonna be a fun team. We should go see them when they come to the Chase.
Yeah, I'm in.
So
I like watching the young teams.
Yeah, me too. Paolo, I'll try to make this quick. Paolo, Rookie of the Year. MIP, Anthony Edwards. I don't like the pick. It's just based on how they've done it in the past, where Ja won it last year. Brandon Ingram's won it a year. Just guys who I feel like are expected to make the jump. That's who usually wins it. And this is the year for Anthony Edwards to like solidify his spot in the league. And, we had him top 20 in our top 25 rankings. So I think he's probably the pick. I think there's Maxey in there as well. There's Halliburton in there as well. De'Aaron Fox could be a sleeper. I kind of wanted to pick Fox, but I'm going with Edwards. Jordan Poole, I said it on my podcast. It's his award to lose. I think the only way he loses it is if Clay gets hurt and he starts for more games than he comes off the bench. Max picked Malcolm Brogdon. I think is a good pick as well. My sleeper would be Trey Murphy III. I talked to Will Guillory of The Athletic for the Pelicans, and we were kind of just like pretty high on him in general, and he's going to be coming off the bench, and I don't think there's a way he starts unless someone gets hurt, when I think he would be a starter on a lot of teams.
All these name drops. Wow.
Lots of name drops. Yeah. Best record, Denver. My best record isn't really who I think is the best team necessarily. It's more of who I think is going to try the hardest in the regular season. And Denver, with, a cruddy team last year, Jokic was able to pull them to a 6 seed, and you add Jamal Murray, you add Michael Porter Jr., you add Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, you add Bruce Brown. I think this team, before Jamal got hurt, like there was a point in that season where it was the second half of the season, before Jamal got hurt against the Warriors, like they were really good. They were putting up some like insane numbers. So I think they can be a 1 seed. I'm not too high. I've talked about the Warriors. Like I feel like they kind of need Wiseman insurance just in case something happens. The Nuggets need insurance badly. Like I almost would rather have Boogie than DeAndre Jordan. I think DeAndre Jordan might be like the worst backup center in the league. And so maybe they're going to be looking for someone. I don't know if they kept a roster spot open or not, but Derek Favors got waived. Maybe they look at that. But yeah, DeAndre Jordan, I think, sucks. And that's who's going to be like on the court when Jokic comes out, which is so silly. Worst record, Utah Jazz. They sold all the important pieces, and I still think they have more to do come trade deadline. So I think there's going to be a team where I think their lineup's going to end up being like Colin Sexton, who might win you some meaningless games. Who else might still be on the team? THT, Vanderbilt, Larry Markkinen, and Walker Kessler. If you know like two of those guys on that team, I'd be surprised. So not a lot of names on there, and I think they're just going to end up tanking for Wembanyama after the first 20 games of the season. Finals matchup, Warriors versus Bucks. I think that's a lot of people's finals matchup. Some people, have Clippers Bucks, but this kind of seems like the main one is Warriors versus Bucks, and I have the Warriors winning it.
Anthony Edwards was too mean to Bo Cruz in Hustle. I don't want him to win that award.
Yeah.